Hey everybody, welcome. This is David Lees with a review of Transformers: A Bold New Era issue 4 from IDW Publishing. This follows on, it's exactly 2 weeks since the last release, so we're back on a fortnightly 2-week schedule again. I'll kick straight off. I realised last time I was a bit lengthy, so I'll be more concise this time. Nice cover for issue 4, Orion, looking pretty unimpressed, pretty powerful, pretty strong. I called this out last time. Orion in the foreground. In the background, Megatron sporting his fusion cannon. So things are clearly moving along. You can see the key players starting to come together. Soundwave on Megatron's right, Starscream on the left. So things starting to build up. At least that's what it looks like from the cover. We'll jump straight into the story so far. A recap. Prowl is still looking for Brainstorm's killer, way back from issue 1, which now seems like months ago. Whereas Chromia is working a team, working out from the murder site, while Prowl continues to look for this Void scavenger, non-robotic life form seen near the area. I'll gloss over the recap. We've got Orion, Prowl, Chromia, Bumblebee and Rubble, who seem to just walk and talk. Windblade, with her interesting little comment about the Nominus Edict, which sounds like population control to me, but that's kind of where they're going. And then this Giamotis character, who seems to have autistic tendencies, and sees signs and significances, echoes importance in things that may or not actually be there. But we go on. A recap of all the main characters. Giamotis now features on the list of key characters for this issue. And here we are, two Autobots walking and talking. This is becoming a little bit of a drain. You're sort of talking, Windblade and Chromia just talking about the time that they last saw Brainstorm and the kind of character he was, blah blah blah. Let's hope they can find his killer. Things take an interesting twist. They're walking along with Giamotis, and suddenly they get buzzed by this low-flying aircraft that transforms into Cyclonus. Now, I don't know how I feel about this, except I'm extremely irritated, to be quite honest. Cyclonus, who is one of Galvatron's henchmen from the year 2005, as featured in the original Transformers movie, way back from the 80s. So Cyclonus does not have a place in the timeline at the start of the Great Cybertronian War. He isn't there yet. He hasn't been created yet. So I don't know what's going on here. I was really disappointed. They could have put Thundercracker in. It could have been Skywarp. Could have been somebody we actually have some interest in seeing. It just seemed odd to have Cyclonus, unless he's come through a time portal or there's some weird time travel going on. And there's way too much complexity and not much happening in the story already. But here we have Cyclonus. Windblade takes him down. But kind of, Cyclonus is an interesting character, I have to say. Windblade. I was trying to start a conversation. Very kinetic approach you've got to that. Cyclonus comes off as really self-important, but in a very humorous way. He's being deliberately evasive. Questioning him about the death of Brainstorm. And Chromia said, "I didn't think you did it, Cyclonus, but you live out here. You must see things. Bioluminescent microbes are spreading into the memorial crater. The metal geezers in the 100 Canyon are waking up." This deliberately evasive approach he's got. He's very savvy, very cynical. I like it. I do like it, even though it's Cyclonus, and I'd rather it was somebody more accurately placed in the timeline. They call him back to Iacon. They need to rush back to Iacon, apparently, the Autobots. Perhaps they should transform into their alt modes a little more often. We have 2 transformations here. That's more than we had in the first 2 issues put together. I'm being a little cynical. So they asked him to come back into Iacon. Interesting little closing step run here. Cyclonus has got voices in his head. I don't know if we're meant to recognise these 4 characters who are talking in Cyclonus' head, or what. I assume that's what they are. Remains to be seen if we ever unpack that. But it seems like they're fallen war heroes or something from Cyclonus' past, or his future, who knows. That's all prelude. We go on to the world in your eyes part 4. There's a celebration, totally out of the blue. Lots of celebration, huge crowds. We actually see some more robots actually featured in this issue, crowds and crowds of them. And they're having another forging, so Rubble is no longer the youngest Cybertronian on the planet. Interesting, and this is unpacked by the characters, that it's very soon after the forging of Rubble and very soon after the death of Brainstorm. Orion Pax has a lengthy debate about it, but before we get to that, there's these weird spiritual kind of people, robots, excuse me, called reversionists. Bumblebee kind of sums them up. They could make tripping over your own feet into a mystical experience, sacred even. And there's this interesting series here. There's actually some activity, some plot unfolds. This unnamed Autobot, you see his lovely bright red Autobot insignia on his shoulder. You should be ashamed of that symbol. Brainstorm might not be dead without you. The rise has nothing to do with the Ascenticons, and you don't even know it was them. But this bright red Autobot symbol features all the way through with this pale green character, whoever he is. Neither he nor the other character are named, nor is this symbol actually fully revealed. It has a pointy triangle base, so we're all fairly sure what it'll be, but it's never actually shown. It's just off the frame. So there's slow but steady revelations going on, and there's the simmering tension is starting to develop at last. Bumblebee gets involved, breaks up the fight, Prowl steps in, tells everyone to calm down, and this frame, I'll see if I can get a little closer, because this was beautiful, and it kind of sums up the way I feel about this this comic series at the moment. Is Prowl here. Here we are. Prowl says, it used to be that security was half the size it needed to be. Now, suddenly, it's a tenth. You know how bad it is? I almost wish Starscream was here. That's how bad. He might actually have been useful for once. So, I mean, I'm with Prowl. I'd love to see Starscream. I'd love to see some real characters. I'd love it to have been Starscream out in the wilderness, or the desert, or whatever you want to call it, instead of Cyclonus. That would have made a lot more sense to me. Rubble offers to help. Totally naive. We're back to that naivety from issue 1. But at least it gets dismissed fairly quickly. There's this lovely unspoken shot where Prowl just stares at Bumblebee. Bumblebee stares back, and Prowl says, "Okay, disappear." Barricade, Autobot, says, "Yeah, civilians, whatever." We finally get on to Megatron and what he's up to. Primus became Cybertron, Cybertron became us, and if we are fortunate, if the Plasma Pyre is there to embrace what remains, we return whence we became and become Cybertron once more. This is the funeral service, or whatever you want to call it, for Brainstorm. They're all there, all the Autobots and Megatron, Soundwave and so on. I'm whizzing through this pretty quickly. Even at a funeral of all places, Orion, I keep calling him Optimus, Orion and Megatron squabbling about the Ascenticon, the rise, the violence, and all that kind of stuff going on. Ironhide sticks his mouth in, as you would expect, because Ironhide is true to his G1 character, just being a mouth. Megatron sums up this scene: perhaps you should both show a little more respect for the moment, rather than demean it with cheap politics. Yeah, so Megatron is stirring up trouble, less of it this time, and no cliffhanger this time. It's just the end of Brainstorm's funeral as he gets sent into the light, whatever it may be. Quick roll call here. We see Perceptor, Ratchet, Chromia, Bumblebee, Megatron, and Orion. So we're slowly seeing more of the familiar G1 faces. What happened in this episode, this issue? Not a lot. We met Cyclonus, who is clearly loopy, has voices inside his head. There's the violence, obviously, on the streets is simmering between the Autobots and people carrying a Decepticon flag, we assume. What else happened? Well, I missed Starscream, that's for sure. I'm with Prowl when he says things are so bad, I'd rather have Starscream back. We saw a forging of another new Autobot, a few more characters introduced, a lot of walking and talking. I wish they'd stop wasting pages on just blah 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 and get on with it. I'm not losing patience, I am persisting, but it's not easy going. I've missed out the adverts from last time, so I'll fly through those. Next issue, Seekers appearing. yeah, last time we saw a cover which had Megatron sporting a fusion cannon, so I'm a little more cynical this time. There we are. That's the cover from this time. Prowl, Chromia Windblade, as I mentioned before. No sign of Starscream yet. Next issue, or no, this is the cover gallery. Bumblebee, Prowl finding some evidence. That's clearly not happened yet. And welcome to Iacon. Nice